Hello, welcome to the Julia Monte channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Monte. I'm a women's fiction author, and I've been discussing the frustrations and the type of things that we as writers tend to not like. So I'm going over 5 different things. Today's the last one, and we're going to be talking about the editing and revision stage. So this does tend to be a huge frustration, right? So let's start with the writing part. The writing part is a lot of fun. Right? So we get to, as writers, create characters in different worlds, and we get to put these characters into this world that we've created, and it's magical, right? So it's a lot of fun. We get to control this world. We get to control what happens. We have a lot of power to create and build, and it really is just a lot of fun, right? You're just playing as you're creating all these things, and sometimes it's a little meditative. At least for me, sometimes when I get into the flow of writing, I leave everything else behind. And in fact, there have been situations where, for example, somebody will call, my mom will call, and she'll say, "Are you sleeping?" It's like, "No, I'm not, I'm writing." And why do I sound that way? Well, because I'm into this story, right? I am kind of in a dream world that I'm creating on my own. So it's a lot of fun to write. And what happens after we write? So we have this beautiful rough draft that we finished, that we've just put our whole heart and soul into, and we think this is definitely the best novel that I've ever written, right? This is amazing. And so I or we writers will go back to that draft. Okay, now it's time to go through, and we're going to edit it for the first time. And as we go through to start editing, what happens? Well, things to start to bounce, to reflect back to us, right? So as we're reading, we're thinking, well, oh, that's not very good. Oh, how did I write that? And oh, I'm on chapter 5, and wait a minute, the character's doing something that she shouldn't be doing, right? So maybe on chapter 1 through 3, I've set her up to be a character who really loves her family or really values their family, but then somewhere in the middle, she's doing something that she shouldn't be doing. She's doing something that is going to hurt her family. Well, she wouldn't do that, right? So that's a problem. She's acting out of character. So I need to do something to fix that. And I'm realizing, like, how did I do this? How did I not see this when I was writing? Because you're thinking, when you're writing, you're kind of in that heat of the moment of writing, that everything you're writing sounds wonderful, everything sounds brilliant, and then you come to realize that, wait a minute, it wasn't so brilliant. In fact, that was kind of trite, or this just didn't work well. How did I ever do that? So as these things jump out at you, now you're starting to lose that confidence. And every writer, that's a problem every writer faces, right? So we all have this kind of something in the back of our head that's saying, well, you're not really that great of a writer, or where did you ever think you could write a novel? And it doesn't matter how many novels you've written. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new writer. It doesn't matter if you are writing your 10th novel. There's always a little part of you that is thinking, wow, how in the world did I sell these books? How in the world did some editor buy this book, right? So there's this doubt that you have. And as you're going through that editing process, and you're finding all the problems or all the missed connections or all the issues, or not even grammatical, just like structural problems with your novel, you start to lose confidence. And nobody likes that, right? Nobody likes to feel that they're not doing well or that they're lacking confidence. And it's very tempting during this editing stage. And so it's first of all, it is very frustrating. So this is why I've added this as one of the most frustrating parts of being a writer. And it's not just the physical, going back and editing, or that it's boring. It's just that there is this frustration of realizing that maybe I haven't written a very good novel, or maybe this is, I've wasted all these weeks and all these pages on this story that really isn't any good, that nobody's going to like and nobody's going to want. And there's a huge temptation at this point in this writing process to say, you know what, this just isn't going anywhere. This novel isn't good. I'm going to start all over. I'm going to set it aside, and I need to just write a different story. I need to write a different novel because this one is really terrible. It's really bad. There's just no way to fix this book, right? And you want to not do that. Okay, you want to keep going, because it's very easy to start something new. It's something new always seems better. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's you're writing or whether it's a job or whether it's whatever you're doing. It's always easier to say, you know what, this really isn't working out, and I'm just going to change and I'm going to do something different, because it is work to fix whatever is wrong in your story, and just look and say, you know what, I have another idea, and ideas are always coming to writers, right? I have this other great idea and I can't wait to write it. So I'm just going to leave this story that's not working and I'm going to do something else. And the reason you don't want to do this, the biggest reason you don't want to do this, is because this is where we as writers grow. Okay, this is where we have the opportunity to fix the issues that we're having. Most likely, if you left that novel and you started a new one, your new novel would have the same issues that your old novel did. Okay, because you haven't worked to correct those problems. If you're having a problem with characters being, staying within character throughout your novel, you're going to make the same mistake in the next novel. If you're having another issue that could be just normal structure, right, of not hitting the main points that are main turning points, or not having that character go through that transformation journey that the character needs to go to, or maybe one of the issues is that you have lots of scenes that really shouldn't be there, that really don't connect, that they sound cool when you start writing them, but then they're not really making the story flow, or the pacing is off. Most likely, if you leave that novel and you go on to the next one, you're going to make those same mistakes. So what I strongly suggest, is to really work on that novel that you're working on. Say, okay, this is a problem. This is a problem that I need to fix, and I'm going to deal with this problem. And then once you are finished editing this novel, and now it's gone through its second and third and fourth, and however many revisions it needs to go through, now you can evaluate it and say, okay, is it a story that is good? And at that point, it goes maybe to an editor, or an agent, depending on, if you are self-publishing, or you have an agent and you're going through traditional publishing. But at this point, you have the editor that takes a look at it, and most likely, what's going to happen is they're going to find something too that needs to be worked on or changed, because you have another set of eyes and things that you didn't catch. But it's a way better novel than it was at the beginning, right? So the editor, the agent, is going to have a lot less to look at and correct and change and guide you with than they would have with that first draft that you wrote, that you really worked to improve. So you want to do that. You want to go through all that stuff. And then after that, you make more changes and more corrections. And the agent and the editor will tell you, okay, this is a novel that will do well. And most likely, if it is rejected, it's not really rejected on the merits of the writing itself. It might be rejected because even though it was well written, there might not be a market for it. There might be other issues. Maybe the publisher that you're writing for has already recently released a novel that is similar, or there could be a variety of reasons why the novel gets rejected at the end. But at that point, if it does, then it's time to go on to the next novel, or submit to a different publisher, or consider self-publishing. So there are other options for you at that point. But don't give up on that first draft. Don't give up on that draft when you're just when you're just entering that editing stage, and all that self-doubt starts to come in, and all the hard work, right? So it's part of the hard work. Another reason I think that writers tend to shy away or procrastinate on that editing part of the writing stage is because they feel, well, it's not that creative. It was a lot of fun to write the book, but now during this editing stage, well, this is kind of boring. It's all analytical, and it's all fixing errors and grammar and all that, which actually it's not. That's kind of the last part of it. But I actually like the revision and the editing stages. It is not one of my least favorite parts of the whole process. Probably marketing is my least favorite part. But I don't dislike editing, because I don't see it as a non-creative part, right? I see it as it's still a continuation of my creative process. And I like looking and finding those parts where the character is acting not acting within character and saying, well, wait, where did I go wrong? How did she make this decision? So maybe she does need to make this decision, but maybe it's not a decision that she makes consciously. So maybe, I mean, and again, I'm just kind of not really, just kind of off the top of my head, but so she values her family, and she makes a decision that's going to hurt her family. Why is she doing this? Well, maybe she doesn't realize she's doing it, so she would not do it consciously because it is not within her character to do it. But she may make a decision that does create this rift, if this is what you're trying to do, right? If this is your goal, that you need to create this division, right, within the family, between her and her family. You don't want to do it. You don't want her to do it consciously. So you need to figure out a way for it to happen, but for her to feel bad about it, right? This isn't what she intended to do. She was trying to do something else, and this is the effect. So you want to fix it. And I do love that part of the writing process because it's still creative. It's still creative. And one of the things that I like to think, or the way I like to think about it, is have you ever watched all those design shows and remodeling shows on TV? There was one novel that I wrote where I actually ended up changing it, but the character, when I started the novel, he was, or maybe I did keep it, I can't remember anymore, but he was into remodeling. I think I did keep that actually. He was, this was his job, is he would buy homes and he would remodel them and fix them and design them and, just fix them. He would remodel them and resell them. This was his job. And so I watched a lot of those shows. I watched a lot of those home rebuilding and home remodeling and design things. And one of the things that I noticed when I was watching, not so much the remodeling, but the design, where they come in and they redesign the house. So sometimes they'll come in and they'll say, okay, well, this flooring we need to change the flooring, right? The flooring is all wrong for the house. Or sometimes they come in and they paint walls, or they may say, well, okay, we need to get rid of the shutters. We need drapes or something because this is kind of it's too businessy or too cold, and we need to warm up the room. So they bring all this design, all these design features. And then at the end of the show, they'll show the way that the room looked or the house looked, and then the way it looks now. And it's beautiful, right? So they've made all these changes to beautify the house, to make it a more attractive house. And so that was a creative process. It was a completely creative process. It's all about colors and furniture and how to make something look more beautiful. And I like to think about the editing and revision stage of a book to be exactly like that. It's not all about sentence structure, and I mean it is. It's about the structure of the story and paragraphs and sentences. But what you're doing is you're redesigning this novel now. You're beautifying it. You're adding things that will work better. You're taking things away that aren't going to work as nice, and that is a creative process. It's to make something more beautiful, easier for the reader to read, more exciting, more interesting. And so it's very similar, I think, to what designers do to make something more beautiful. And at the end, hopefully you have a book that you're proud of, that you're excited to share with your readers because you worked on it and you didn't just write it, but you redesigned it and you recreated it and you beautified it. And it's something that you're proud to share with someone. Even if nobody buys it, you're proud of the ultimate product that you created. Okay, so definitely don't look at the editing and the revision stage as just something boring or something that has to be done. Look forward to it because it will do both of those things. It's going to help you to create a product that looks good, feels good, reads good, and that you're proud of. And it's also going to make you a better writer because you've worked through that hard stuff. You've worked through that challenge, you've looked at all the problems with your writing and you've fixed it, and you will feel good about that as well. All right. So thank you for joining me for this 5-part series on the frustrations of writing. Hopefully they will help you feel less frustrated as you move forward with your writing. So join me next time for the next video. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the series, please hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.